Let's go on to the motivators then. Because you asked me to do a motivational map,
I did.
which I went. Have you looked at my results?
I have had a quick look at it.
If not,
yes.
I've got them here.
Yes, that will remind me. I can. I know what your top motivator is, but let's hear what you have to say about your map first of all.
So I think it was incredibly accurate on me, and I'll take you through why in a second.
Yeah,
I've got to find them first. So my first highest was the searcher. Do you want to give a round up of the searcher?
So searcher is mainly about making a difference and doing something worthwhile.
Yep. So this is why it's bang on. I have a motto that I live my life by, which is leave everyone better than you found them.
Right.
And that could be a hug, that could be, some support, that could be whatever. And my whole aim in business, and this is why I'm in business, is to make enough money that I can make a difference to charity. And that's it. I've worked with charities first as a fundraiser and now more in a consulting role for coming up 2 decades. I've raised 6 figures for charities. I've earned world records, hopefully another one in the next few months, but I can't go into much more detail about that at the moment.
Okay.
For these charities. And I'm a simple guy. I've worn the same pair of shorts almost daily. Not today because they've got rips on. My wife won't let me out of the house in them anymore. But I've worn the same pair of shorts that have rips in them for the last decade or so. And I believe that I am here to support charities and help charities and build that. So when it comes about meaning, that's exactly it for me. And I've been clear on that for many, many years.
Yeah.
I've lost my way a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're well on
So do you
track.
think that was a top motivator towards the end of your cleaning business when you were sort of selling that on?
No, I think I was completely lost.
Right.
I was completely lost. And that's one of the reasons that I had to sell business.
Right.
In hindsight, I shouldn't have. But as we said, hindsight is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But if I knew then what I know now, I would have gone in a different direction.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So the next question would be, do you feel that is being well fulfilled at the present time?
Yes.
Yeah. That's basically
Yes.
it. So understanding how you make a difference is important to you. And so one of the 9 motivations have got rewards attached to them naturally. So what is the reward that a searcher wants? The most important reward would be some sort of feedback that confirms you are making a difference. Yeah. And sometimes that becomes the problem. I've worked with clients who are high searchers like yourself. They're doing what could be seen as a mundane job. Let's say a lawyer, for instance. But the problem is they don't feel they're making a difference. It's only when they start digging in regards to looking at the feedback that they had, asking colleagues, what difference do I make? Well, they suddenly realize they are making a big difference, but they've lost touch with it. And sometimes it's just connecting to the outcome that you help. So for a lawyer, maybe let's take a conveyancing lawyer, which I have worked with in the past, who was a high searcher. She was completely disconnected with the outcome that she was helping to allow to happen. And when I ask her, so you don't feel that you are helping someone to buy their next dream house or move on with their life? She was completely disconnected from that. But when she looked at our feedback, that was what basically was saying all along. She was easy to talk to. She made things efficient. She was always available when there was a question to be answered. So she was actually well engaged with the doing. What she needed just to connect herself to was the outcome that she was and the difference that she was making. So
yeah. So from this perspective, if we look at staff as an example, minimum wage drives them mad. I hate minimum wage. I think we should have maximum wage. I think we should pay our staff, especially cleaning companies, cleaners. We always used to pay them well over minimum wage. We paid them maximum what was feasible at the time, because I want them to have the best quality of life they can. That was our driver. That was always, we used to get pushed back a lot because we charged too much. That's fine. I charge that, so the money over here going to the teams could be a lot more than competitors.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody about VAs yesterday, and he told me how much he was paying. And I said, well, that's sort of top end. But I said, we're not going to go down whether you actually overpaying. So actually, what's more important is the value that you get, and as long as the value you get matches what you're paying, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And so, if you start scrimping and saving with hourly rates, then ultimately that is not a good place to start your business from.
From the minimum wage, I'm going to do my best not to go off on a rant on this. A lot of minimum wage, they're what I refer to as invisible jobs. You don't see the convenience store, someone stacking the shelves. You just know the shelves get stacked. You don't see the cleaner going into the offices overnight. You don't see the guys who pick up people who pick up your bins in the day. These are all minimum wage jobs. Yet you see the solicitor or the accountant or the lawyer, all these high-end jobs. You see the people in government who, in my opinion, are way overpaid, but let's not get political. You see them, and therefore we go, oh, they should get paid top money. However, when we had all these important jobs, who was it going out and keeping everything running? It was these minimum wage employees. And I think they are so underrated in everything that they do. And so I think we should pay them as much as possible, because every one of them grafts and they work hard. And they should be rewarded for that.
And also we tend to only notice when what they do isn't happening.
You notice when
you
they
see
haven't
the value.
And
then you think, oh right, okay. It's like there's my other half, she's a nurse, so she sees the knock-on effects of nursing and the difficulty to recruit, because and before we get into politics, but there is the nurses that used to come across from Europe. It's more difficult for them to do that, so that has a knock-on effect. So things just don't get done because they can't come and work here, because so it's sort of like a knock-on effect. We tend to take for granted these people that are paid minimum wage. Ultimately they keep the business, the world, the economy running.
Absolutely. And it's insane. You get so many small business owners who, if you look at how much they get paid, they're well below minimum wage. They make up, is it 94% of GDP or something? And yet there's no support for them. There's very little support for them. However, you go out to America and you see the guy who's gone bankrupt 3 times, and they're a bit more supportive. It's no wonder people are leaving the country. But anyway, let's not get political.
It's I mean, it just picked up a point there with going bust. I was on a train once. I was talking to a guy, and he was from Germany, and he said, "Oh, it's one of the things that I'm really jealous of you guys, is that you don't have this very negative mindset around people that have failed in business." And so what happens in Germany? He said, well, it's almost like it's a label you have for your life. If you have a business that fails, it's literally something you can never shake off. And luckily, I don't think we have that in this country, but to the other extreme, almost it's applauded across the pond, isn't it? It's just so. I mean, it comes back to attitude towards what is failure. Well, how can we possibly go through life not making mistakes? So if you, going back to the guy that was on the train with me, he was saying, if you're fearful of failure, that has a knock-on effect with regards to the whether you will take certain risks. And so the Germans are traditionally very sort of they have their ways of doing things, which has always worked in their favor, but sometimes we don't know about the downsides of things. Anyway, let's move on. So number 2. Number 1 researcher. Number 2 is
expert.
Yes. So the experts is about specialism and knowledge. So you want to be a specialist and know your stuff.
absolutely. I'll give you two brilliant examples of this.
Right.
My wife often refers to me. She says I have an addictive personality, and the addiction is if I find something, I want to be an expert in it. Exactly this. So over the last 6 months or so, every 3 months or so, I pick something that I want to learn. Beginning of this year was gardening, and I've done this deep dive into gardening. But there you go. Before that, it was croissants, and I wanted to become brilliant at making croissants. So I went through cookbooks, I read all the forums, I tried it, I tested it, and I went, these are good. These are good. I think they're better than shop bought, but they're not great. So I reached out to a couple of bakeries who made their own croissants and said, can I come and spend a day with you to figure out what I'm doing right? No one took me up on it. But there you go. But twice a week, I make croissants, and it's just something we do.
Mm-hmm.
For as long as I can remember, we've always had Pizza Friday. Always had Pizza Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my wife and I met 10 years ago, 11 years ago, whenever it was, this was always Asda, frozen thin crust, bung it in the fridge, oven. 15 minutes later, it comes out brilliant. And then we decided to upgrade to their pizza counter. And then we decided to upgrade again. And so we bought the base and put our own toppings on. Then we started making our base. And I went, the bases are good. They're not great. And so I got in touch with a pizza chef, and I did the exact same thing. And I went, can I come and spend a bit of time with you and figure out what I'm doing wrong? How can I get this better? And what it was simply not seeing when the dough was needed. So I would either under knead it by an extreme or over knead it by an extreme. I couldn't find this window. And this has all happened in the last couple of months that I went and had this lesson. And he taught me all about how to see it and how to watch it. And then, and it just improved the pizza so much. So that is absolutely 100% spot on for me.
So if anybody's listening and they want to know the behaviors of an expert, Gareth has explained the sort of things that experts do. They want deep knowledge, and they go deeper than sometimes they need to be. The thing that comes up a lot with people that are high expert, and I am one of them, is that sometimes the expert can be a barrier because we never really feel we are the expert, because we're always comparing with someone that knows something more than we do. So I'm just thinking the reason why we're having this conversation is that we're trying to get to the point of understanding what is what is it about coaching or executive coaching that makes them really good.
Yeah.
And so me and you being high experts are here talking about something that many other people probably would say, well, why are you bothering? It's because it's important to us.
Yeah.
And we want to find out. And we are together here talking because we think that we might be able to move on a little bit, learn a bit more from each other.
Yeah.
That we're more an expert on this as to what we were before we started the conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I often phrase it as, I want to know everything about everything. I'm never going to. And even the stuff I do think I know everything about, I still don't. I'm very conscious of that, expert. So yeah. That was just spot on.
But you can see how it could sometimes get in the way. If sometimes you just need to know enough about something.
Yes.
As opposed to being the expert.
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes you need to sort of put that to one side and say, right, I don't need to be expert at this. There's actually somebody else can do this.
Yeah.
They need to be the expert, not
me. Yeah. And they're generally things that just have no interest in.
Yeah. There's obviously
no interest in
croissants and pizzas. I'm on that, just to let you know.
Heavy
I'm
food
on that,
related.
I'm on that buying the pizza bases and making my pizzas level at the moment. So I don't think I'm going to go to making my own pizza bases, but you never know.
Do it once.
Yeah.
Do it once. So the way we're doing this at the moment is because I don't have a pizza oven. I don't have any of that. However, there's this guy that I found on Instagram who was talking about how you can get the same sort of style of cooking using a conventional oven, which I have. So I've reached out to him and gone, tell me a little bit more. And it's all about switching between the oven, let it heat up the pizza stone, then switching to the grill and coming back. But there you go. Not that we're going to obsess over it.
It's a good pizza too. I love a pizza. And
but when we have that networking meeting and I go, I'm going to make some pizzas, just everyone come around. I'll just spend my whole time cooking pizzas. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on then. Number three then.
Spirit.
Right, the spirit is freedom, autonomy is the drive. So a spirit wants to be able to make their own decision, do things their own way.
Yep. Yeah. Anyone who's known me for about 15 minutes knows my love of systemization.
What the dislike of it?
No, I love systems.
Okay.
Because it
frees you up.
Gives me freedom,
okay.
And everything is autonomy, right. And I can get you in to run my life pretty much.
Right. Brilliant. Well, that's the mentality for the spirit. And spirit is about managing. You have to manage your time because time is the issue in most cases.
Yeah.
And an exercise for high spirits is to do a stop-start review, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
So a stop-start review, basically think about the things you need to be, do and have, and then decide on the things you need to continue doing, things you need to do less of and more of, and things you need to stop doing and start doing. And by doing that, you fill in like a grid with those things. Then it gives you a bit more focus on the time that you're spending on these things, and it helps you to delegate the things that maybe you should be doing yourself.
I'm very good at stopping things that aren't relevant to me. So I'm a big list guy, my to-do list, and if anything's on there for more than 2 days, it just gets taken off because it's clearly not important. Yeah. And that's always been my thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that I've taken off and gone, well, I was going to do that, but clearly it's not important.
Yeah.
And it drives my wife mad. Because like cutting the grass gets taken off there all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's just not important. I like
at this stage, it might be worth mentioning the sort of Stephen Covey thing where we talk about the things that are important but not urgent.
Yes.
And so we spend a lot of time doing things that are important and being urgent because they have to be done. But sometimes the only way to move forward is to prioritize those things that are important but not urgent, and that's how we move the needle with regards to get things done, because those things, we don't do that, they get pushed down the line and it stops us from getting the things done that we should be doing.
So for me, it's always, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. It's my philosophy. Yeah. So anything that's on my to-do list, anything that I have to do, I have to really want to do it. Otherwise it's a bit of grind. No, I can find someone else to do it. So my lowest motivator,
right? Yes,
the defender.
So the defender is about stability, predictability. So a defender needs to have structure. They want things to be predictable. They don't like things to be changing at the last minute, and so they do everything to make sure that everything has a place and everything's done in a certain way. So they like stability and predictability, and so that's their drive to maintain that.
So this is the only one I'm going to push back on and think is slightly wrong for me being this low. Because I live my life by a default diary.
Right.
And so I have that predictability. And so I will do the same things pretty much all day, every day.
Okay. So let's just reframe it then. So two of your top motivators are what we call growth motivators. So searcher and spirit. What do they want more than anything? Is they want change. They want things to change because, making a difference means you're changing something to make a difference. And spirit is, it's about changing the way things happen to allow things to happen in a way that you have control over. What the defender likes least is change.
Okay.
So that's a bit of better context. So defender will defend the status quo.
Okay.
Yeah. So wants things to stay the same, whereas your drive is clearly more towards change.
Change is always better.
Well, we could have a conversation about whether change is always better.
Change is always better.
So that's where the defender, being your lowest motivator, it's almost a polarity reinforcement. What we call so the polarity reinforcement is that your lowest motivator is backing up one or two of your top motivators. So it's almost like reinforcing.
Okay.
The drive for change is being reinforced by the thing you least want. And the thing you least want is things to stay the same.